Hello, this is Åsa with a new process video. This is, I think, the third layout I'm making in my Finding My Inner Vilna Furstenberg series, and I brought out my pencil today to do some doodling. I have always been a doodling person, as for going to meetings where perhaps my opinion and my brain isn't the most important one. I have always kept my hands busy with doodling of all kinds, and I often come back to the same kind of patterns. It's basically vines with flowers and hearts and drops and small like balls or circles, and I vary them in size, and I connect them with vines. And I doodle around stuff, and I doodle in the margin, and where I can fit it between my notes. So I just tried to get the doodling flowing, and I marked on this watercolor paper where I wanted to place my photo. The photo is one of myself, and I'm sitting in the window of the hotel room where we stayed in Stockholm, and the lighting is pretty much perfect, so I think the photo became very good. I cut away most of the doodling process since I had zoomed out too much for it to be visible on the film. And now I'm getting ready for coloring, and to keep the watercolor paper in place so that it doesn't accidentally slip out of the filming, I tape it down with some washi tape. I'm using my Neo colors, and they're really soft, and for this layout perhaps I should have chosen stronger colors, but now I went with the Neo colors, and I need to be pleased with the result because it turned out pretty well, I must say. I'm just painting onto my craft mat and picking up the color with a water pen and pencil, and I'm coloring all the areas that are the same color at once, and then I go back with the next color. And for the bigger leaves and petals, I am just drawing one side of the leaves at first, and then I come back so that I get kind of a gradient. If you look closely on the still photos at the end of the video, you can see that I try to keep the most colorful part to the left for some consistency. I have not been watercoloring a lot in my days, and perhaps it's because I normally think that my crafting should go faster, but I enjoy the process, and I hope that I'll be able to do more watercoloring in the future to become better. I still need to practice with my pencil or with my paintbrush a bit to get it the way I want it, and also to get the effect that I'm looking for. Now I go with bright red on the hearts, and I will later come back and give it a more pinkish tone. I didn't know where this process would go, where would end at this point, but I went back and fixed the things that I thought were a bit wrong. The main thing besides the photo on this layout will be the title, and the title is a quote, and I don't know who it comes from, but it is one that I found on Pinterest. And Pinterest, I think, is a very nice place for passing your time, and it's a site where I can get stuck for hours and just look at things and search for things and ideas and look what people have pinned. I have a couple of thousands of pins myself, divided into lots of different boards, and I like to go through my own pins and see if there is something there that inspires me at that very moment, and sometimes I get ideas that can become layouts and backgrounds, and so Pinterest is a great source of inspiration for me. And sometimes when I'm feeling philosophical, I search for quotes and texts and just sentiments and things that could be turned into layouts and titles. And there I found this sentimental quote, which I immediately thought would fit a photo of myself. And since I'm wearing all black clothes in this photo, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity. I am a black dressed person, and I've been like that since I was 13-14 years, and I got this idea that you should wear black clothes, and it never really I never really got over that. And these days I sometimes I try to buy colorful clothes, especially during summer, and they mainly end up in my closet. So I feel most comfortable when I'm wearing black clothes, but that's not something that has to do with me being a very sad or depressed person, not at all. So this quote is, "She always wears black, but she has the most colorful mind." And I think that's very, very suiting for this girl in the photo. And I will be cutting that out with the Silhouette Cameo, which I love. I am starting to have or experience problems with my cutting mat, and I have had this machine in less than a month, and my mat is not sticky any longer. I can get paper to stick to it if I use my ruler and just press it down to the mat, but I have begun experiencing trouble with the paper coming off during the cutting process, and that means that the blade rips the paper instead of cut it. So I have been watching a couple of tips on how to restick your mat, and I haven't been pleased with any of those. I have tried the lint roller, and I have put painter's tape on the mat to get dust and paper leftovers off, but I didn't think it worked, and I have even been washing my mat, and it took away a lot of the paper, but it didn't give much of the stickiness back. And I have read about methods where you clean off the entire surface of the mat and use sticky glue to make it sticky all over again, and I think that would be sad if I had to do that after just a month. So if you have any good suggestions on what I can do to make my mat last longer, because I don't want to spend 200 Swedish crowns every month to get a new one. If you have any suggestions and useful tips, please tell me about them. Because I want to use my cutting machine a lot, and right now it is getting harder for me, harder and harder for each cut. When I made this cutout, my mat was perfectly sticky, so I was able to cut this lovely script font, and a lot of it. She always wears black, but she has the most colorful mind. I think it's a lovely quote. My watercolor paper isn't 12 by 12. It is European size A3, and it is almost like double letter. And that means that I have a square that is a bit smaller than 12-inch, and I will mat my page onto an old Bo Bunny paper. I used to buy these papers with lots of edge treatment, and I thought they were lovely, and they are beautiful. Of course they're beautiful, but I can't use them. It's totally impossible, and I have a lot of these in my stash, and I have even started to paint them with gesso, and turn them into mixed media backgrounds, because I can't just have them in my stash and they get older and older and older, and honestly I will never use them. They are pretty, but I can't just stick papers in my albums. I want to do scrapbooking, and these papers are totally impossible for me. But this one ended up as a border background for this page, so I used it up, and I'm happy about that. I wanted to add some embellishing, and I found a little bag of bling, and these are self-adhesive rhinestones, silvery or transparent in color, and first I scattered them all around the page pretty much randomly, but when I took a step back and looked at it, I didn't like what I saw, so you see me take them off and place them in 3 rows on the page instead. So it has a sparkle, but it's pretty much concentrated to these lines of bling in the corners, and one under the word black. This was a very fun project to do, and I had a lot of inspiration when I started, and I think that I think I took care of that inspiration pretty well, and I made this layout completely mine. It is about me, it has a quote that suits me perfectly, and I got to doodle and paint this very personal pattern that I'm always using when I doodle. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoy this rather unusual process, and that you will come back to my channel really soon again. Take care. This is Åsa. Bye!